Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam Stuti series, continuing with Chitraketu's glorification of Lord Sankarshana. Today we are in Shloka number 42, chapter 16, canto 6. Kakshemo nijaparayoho
Kakshemo nijaparayoho
kiyan varthasvaparadruha dharmena
kriyan varthasvaparadruha dharmena
svadroha tava kopaha
svadroha tava kopaha
Parasampidaya cha tatha dharmaha.
parasampidaya cha tatha dharmaha.
Word for word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Kaha,
Kaha,
what?
what?
Kshemaha,
Kshemaha,
benefit.
benefit.
Nija,
Nija,
to oneself.
to oneself.
Parayoho,
Parayoho,
and to others.
and to others.
Kiyan,
Kiyan,
how much.
how much.
Va,
Va,
or. Arthaha,
arthaha,
purpose.
purpose.
Swaparadruha,
Swaparadruha,
which is envious of the performer and of others.
which is envious of the performer and of others.
Dharmena,
Dharmena,
with the religious system.
with the religious system.
Swadrohat,
Swadrohat,
from being envious of one's own self.
from being envious of one's own self.
Tava,
Tava,
of you.
of you.
Kopaha,
Kopaha,
anger.
anger.
Parasampidaya,
Parasampidaya,
by giving pain to others.
by giving pain to others.
Cha,
Cha,
also.
also.
Tatha,
Tatha,
as well as. Adharmaha,
Adharmaha,
irreligion.
irreligion.
Translation. How can a religious system
How can a religious system
that produces envy of oneself and of others
that produces envy of oneself and of others
be beneficial for oneself and for them?
be beneficial for oneself and for them?
What is auspicious about following such a system?
What is auspicious about following such a system?
What is actually to be gained?
What is actually to be gained?
By causing pain to one's own self,
by causing pain to one's own self
due to self-envy,
due to self-envy,
and by causing pain to others,
and by causing pain to others,
one arouses your anger and practices irreligion.
one arouses your anger and practices irreligion.
Reading from Srila Prabhupada's purport. Any religious system, but the process of Bhagavata Dharma, service as an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a system of envy of one's own self and of others. For example, there are many systems of religion in which animal sacrifices are recommended. Such animal sacrifices are inauspicious both for the performer and for the animal. Although one is sometimes permitted to sacrifice an animal before the goddess Kali and eat it instead of purchasing meat from a slaughterhouse, permission to eat meat after a sacrifice in the presence of the goddess Kali is not the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is simply a concession for the miserable person who will not give up eating meat. It is meant to restrict his desire for unrestricted meat eating. Such a religious system is condemned. Therefore, Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. Give up all of the duties and surrender unto me. That is the last word in religion. One may argue that the sacrifice of animals is recommended in the Vedas. This recommendation, however, is a restriction. Without Vedic restrictions on the purchase of meat, people will purchase meat from the market, which will be overflooded with meat shops, and slaughterhouses will increase. To restrict this, sometimes the Vedas say that one may eat meat after sacrificing an insignificant animal, like a goat, before the goddess Kali. In any case, a system of religion in which animal sacrifices are recommended is inauspicious for those who perform the sacrifices and for the animals. Envious persons who perform ostentatious animal sacrifices are condemned in Bhagavad Gita 16.17 as follows. Atma sambhavita stabdha dhana mana madanvitaha yajante nama yajnaiste dhambhe na vidhi purvakam. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules or regulations. Sometimes animal sacrifices are performed very gorgeously, with grand arrangements for worshipping the goddess Kali. But such festivals, although performed in the name of yajna, are not actually yajna, for yajna means to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, it is recommended that in this age specifically, yajnai sankirtana prayair yajantihi sumedhasaha. Those who have good intelligence satisfy the Yajna Purusha, Vishnu, by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Envious persons, however, are condemned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as follows. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham cha samshritaha mam atma paradeheshu pradvishantobhyasuyakaha tanaham dvishatah kruran samsareshu naradhaman kshipam yajasram ashubhan ashurishva eva yonishu. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demon becomes envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in his own body and in the bodies of others, and blasphemes against the real religion. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. This Prabhupada is quoting from chapter 16, shlokas 18 and 19. These persons are condemned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as indicated by the words Tava Kopaha. A person who commits murder is envious of himself and also the person he has killed. For the result of committing murder is that he will be arrested and hanged. If one transgresses the laws of a man-made government, he may escape being killed by the state, but one cannot escape the laws of God. A killer of any animal must be killed in his next life by the same animal. This is the law of nature. One must follow the instructions of the Supreme Lord. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. If one follows any other system of religion, he is subject to punishment by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in many different ways. Therefore, if one follows a concocted system of religion, he is envious not only of others, but also of himself. Consequently, his system of religion is useless. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.8 says, Dharma swanushtista pumsam vishvaksena kathasuyaha notpadayet yadiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. Duties, dharma, executed by men, regardless of occupation, are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the Supreme Lord. Following a system of religion that does not awaken one's Krishna consciousness or God consciousness is merely a waste of time and labor. It's a very exhaustive purport by Srila Prabhupada to this particular shloka. So just reading the translation again, how can a religious system that produces envy of oneself and of others be beneficial for oneself and for them? What is auspicious about following such a system? What is actually to be gained? By causing pain to oneself due to self-envy and by causing pain to others, one arouses your anger and practices irreligion. Yesterday we were talking about what other religions propagate, which is that if you don't follow their religion, you are considered an infidel. And they also have the right to kill you because you have not bowed down to, quote unquote, their God. So here is proof that why such so-called religions are actually not religion at all. They are actually practicing irreligion. Because Chitraketu here is saying, if one has no problem causing pain, not just to oneself, but to others as well, what do? They arouse the anger of the Lord. And they're actually practicing irreligion. So what is the root cause of all of this? The root cause of all of this is envy. If you are envious of the Lord, you are envious of others. If you are envious of others, you are automatically envious of the Lord. However, if you focus on satisfying others and satisfying the Lord, then everybody becomes satisfied. But we should not think that devotees are not envious. Even practicing devotees may have envy in their heart. The best way to remove this envy is Shravanam Kirtanam. It begins by hearing about the pastimes of the Lord. It begins by hearing the Lord's instructions to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. It begins by chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Even if devotees have overcome the element of envy, that doesn't mean they have become pure. It only means that they are no longer suffering the miseries that is caused by the mind because of envy. All the miseries that we experience originate in the mind. And because of that, the subtle body that produces miseries causes the material body also to experience pain and suffering. So birth is a misery, death is a misery, old age is misery, disease is a misery. All of these are the miserable conditions. So we should not think that because we are practicing Krishna consciousness that we have overcome that envious nature in us that causes us to doubt others. I heard that His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu, when I was visiting a bit, somebody told me some little pastime that Radheshyam Prabhu has said that anger towards others causes contempt. When we become angry with somebody else, it causes us to deal with them in a contemptuous manner. We have to be very careful about this. So we have to get rid of the envy within our heart. And the only way we can do it, how do you start? By reading Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, reading Bhagavad Gita, following the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, following the instructions of your Guru. The envy within your heart will slowly dissipate. As we were discussing yesterday, the rate at which it dissipates depends on the faith with which you do it. The more you are in fear of the fact that this envy is going to cause self-destruction, the more you will be committed to chanting and hearing and doing services. following the instructions of the spiritual master, chanting your 16 rounds very nicely, following the 4 regulative principles, helping preach this message to others. This is the easiest way by which we can overcome the envious nature that is there within us. Sometimes we feel insecure when others may be progressing, or others may be getting more sevas. We should be very careful that insecurity should not lead to contempt and anger. Rather, we should rejoice that the other person is getting more sevas. We should rejoice that the other person is being handed more responsibilities. Of course, the more responsibilities that one carries, then the more burden is there on the shoulders to do it in the right way, in the right mood, without causing pain to others. Because His Grace Sundaranityananda Prabhu said, he made a very funny statement. The management in the temple, they have to be so careful. Sometimes we love and adore devotees because of the position they occupy, not because of who they are. And therefore, some devotees, some neophyte devotees will, as Prabhu used the word, I will use the same word that Prabhu used. So a lot of people will come and put manure at the management's feet in the form of praise, in the form of attention, in the form of special treatment. And this manure can really cultivate your false ego. So especially for management in temple, they have to be so careful, because that position, if it goes to your head, that will be the ultimate downfall. So that is why once I visited ISKCON Dwaraka, a lot of these young Grahastha Prabhujis were managing various departments. And when I entered into one of their offices to have a meeting with them, they did not have any table or chair. The room was empty. They were sitting on the floor. There was one small table on which they were keeping their laptop. And when I asked about it, they said, it's very revealing to me, they said, our position in management can change anytime. So we do not want to get attached to an office. We don't want to get attached to a table or a chair or a title. So I thought that is a wonderful way to look at your position. What kind of humility that causes you to say, I don't need a table and chair in the office, I'll just sit on the floor. Because any day, my seva may be taken away. Therefore, why become attached to a position or a title? Similarly, when I visited ISKCON Abids, I found something stunning. Normally, the cooks and the devotees who are helping cook for the deities, they usually get a plate of prasadam from doing that seva in the deity kitchen. But in Abids, even the cook does not get the prasadam that they have cooked for the Lord. Why? Because the mood is to inculcate that you are there for seva and you are not entitled to anything. Again, I thought that is teaching such a wonderful lesson, that you should do your seva with detachment. Nothing belongs to you. Nobody belongs to you. You've been given a seva for the pleasure of the Lord. If that is taken away from you, you should not be discouraged. You should just move on to the next seva. So we should not become attached to seva also, which is kind of unusual, because without attachment, how will you do the seva really well? You should do the seva like as if it's the last day that you'll get that opportunity. So oftentimes, even in devotee community, we become attached to position, we become attached to title, we become attached to our roles. So we feel insecure when something is taken away. We don't understand even that something that is taken away is the Lord's arrangement only. So we just have to look forward to the next seva. So it is envy that causes us all these problems. It causes us pain to ourselves and we end up causing pain to others. And when we cause pain to others, here Chitraketu is saying, it arouses the anger in the Lord. And all we are doing is practicing irreligion. So it is a warning to us on how we should practice our devotional services in the mood of service. That's it. You should understand that service can change anytime. One should not be attached to any seva, but do it with absolute diligence. But don't be attached, because the seva may go in an instant. When that seva goes and it arouses your anger and disappointment, then you know you have a problem that you need to address. Seva will come and go because it is given to you at the Lord's pleasure, not at your pleasure. So it's a very instructive shloka for us. How self-envy ends up causing pain to self and to others. And therefore, how can you get Krishna Prema in your heart if you have envy in your heart? Right? So I was telling somebody in the temple that, in this mood of not being attached to title and position and seva, even though it brings you a lot of pleasure, along with pleasure, pressure is also there. But I was telling somebody that I am planning my exit from the temple. I am planning my replacements in the temple so that I don't get attached to position, title, offices, all the attention that particular positions bring, all the perks, so to speak, that positions bring. That the best thing we can do is replace ourselves. Be prepared that you will exit the seva one day. Plan for it. Not that you don't want to do seva. You don't want to be attached to that title or that room or that position. So we have to understand what is real religion and what is the religion. Real religion is to do service for the pleasure of the Lord. Our pleasure does not matter. If the Lord is happy, we should be happy. That is the ultimate objective. So this shloka is a very nice shloka, and Prabhupada's purport is worth reading over and over again. Of course, Prabhupada is focusing on the fact that any religion that promotes the killing of animals really cannot be a compassionate religion. And then, of course, Prabhupada is also bringing up the point that even in the Vedas, we do yajnas and animal sacrifices, but that is only meant to be done by highly qualified brahmanas. And if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada very nicely explains that the purposes of offering an Ashwamedha sacrifice, or even a cow is offered in a sacrifice, it is to give them the next life. The purity of the Brahmana uttering the mantra is proven by the efficacy of the mantra, that it gives that horse a next life. It gives that cow a human life. If that Brahmana cannot do this, then animal sacrifice is not allowed. The purpose of doing the animal sacrifice, of course, one purpose Prabhupada talks about is to consume meat, but the actual purpose of performing this Ashwamedha Yajna and other types of yajnas is to give that animal the next higher life so that it can make progress on the path of spirituality or through the process of transmigration of the soul.
If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification. If you'd like to join our classes every day, please check the details in the description section of this video. We look forward to serving you.